All right, let's dive into chapter 3 because this is where the Han Dynasty doesn't just crack, it completely shatters. We're about to see a simmering conflict inside the palace walls just explode, and trust me, the flames are going to consume everything.
And this quote? It just perfectly captures the tragedy we're about to unpack. The very people who were supposed to be guarding the throne are the ones who end up lighting the match. The chaos they unleash creates this massive power vacuum, and as you're about to see, something way, way more dangerous is waiting right outside the gates to fill it. So, how in the world did it all go so wrong so fast? Well, it all starts with a really, really bad idea. An idea born from a bitter power struggle between two factions, both locked in a death match for control of the court.
Okay, so on one side, you've got He Jin. He's the Empress's brother, the Grand Marshal, and his newfound power has made him fatally overconfident. He is dead set on wiping out his rivals, the Eunuchs. And on the other side, you have the Ten Eunuchs, a seriously powerful group that's been pulling the strings in the court for years, controlling who sees the emperor and who doesn't. The tension is at a boiling point, and He Jin decides he's got to make a move.
And here it is. This is the plan. Instead of using the huge army he already commands, He Jin decides to call in outside warlords to march on the capital. His whole goal is to put so much military pressure on his own sister, the Empress, that she'll have no choice but to let him execute the eunuchs. I mean, it is a massive gamble. He's basically inviting wolves into the sheep pen just to deal with a fox. What could possibly go wrong?
You know, even at this early stage, guys like Cao can see exactly where this is going. He flat out warns He Jin, telling him this plan won't fix anything. It's going to shatter the empire. But He Jin, just blinded by his own arrogance, completely blows him off. He won't listen.
So He Jin's brilliant plan, it doesn't just fail. It backfires in the most spectacular, bloody way you can possibly imagine. See, the eunuchs might be cornered, but they are definitely not powerless. And just like that, the tables turn. The eunuchs run straight to Empress He, who ends up summoning her brother to the palace. His advisors, Yuan Sha and Cao, are practically begging him not to go. It's so obviously a trap. But He Jin, he just laughs it off. He's the Grand Marshal. I hold the power of the empire, he boasts. What could happen to him? So he walks right into the lion's den all by himself.
And then everything just falls apart. He Jin is ambushed and killed. When his head gets tossed over the palace wall to his waiting army, all hell breaks loose. Yuan Shao, absolutely enraged, orders his soldiers to storm the gates and kill every single eunuch they can find. The palace is set on fire, and in the middle of all this chaos, the surviving eunuchs grab the young emperor and his little brother and just flee into the night.
And to give you a sense of the absolute horror and madness of that night, get this. The soldiers were so consumed by revenge that they just started killing any man they saw who didn't have a beard, assuming they had to be eunuchs. The whole power struggle devolved into a total bloodbath, and the authority of the Han government just vanished in the flames. And remember that wolf He Jin invited to the gate? Well, he's here. The warlord Dong Zhao marches his army toward a capital city that's on fire, not to help the dead Grand Marshal, but to seize this incredible opportunity. For a guy like him, this isn't a crisis, it's a coronation.
And then, in a moment that changes history, his army literally stumbles upon the kidnapped emperor and his brother, just wandering around in the dark. Dong Zhuo swoops in, playing the part of their heroic rescuer. And just like that, he is now the protector of the throne.
So Dong Zhuo approaches the two boys, and what happens next is so crucial. The young emperor, Shao, is so terrified he can't even speak, he's just crying. But his younger brother, the prince, is perfectly calm. He clearly explains the entire horrifying story of what happened. Dong Zhuo is immediately impressed. He sees weakness in the emperor and strength in the prince. You can just see the gears turning in his head. Okay, so Dong Zhuo has the emperor, but he doesn't have total control. Not yet. There's another general in the city, Ding Yuan, who stands in his way. And Ding Yuan has an ace up his sleeve, his adopted son, the legendary, unstoppable warrior Lu Bu. To get what he wants, Dong Zhuo has to get rid of them both. And when you can't beat an enemy, what do? You buy his best weapon. Dong Zhuo sends a ridiculous amount of treasure over to Lu Bu, gold, pearls, and the ultimate prize, the legendary horse Red Hair. The price for this amazing gift? His adoptive father's head. And Lu Bu, he doesn't hesitate for a second. So the deal is done. Lu Bu murders Ding Yuan right in his own tent and presents the head to Dong Zhuo. With his last rival in the capital physically removed from the picture, Dong Zhuo's path to absolute power is now completely clear.
So that fire He Jin started to destroy the eunuchs. Well, it ended up consuming them both, and it took the entire government of the Han Dynasty down with them.
The old power players are just gone, wiped out in a single night of fire and blood. Power isn't in the palace with courtiers anymore, it now belongs to the guys with the biggest armies. And sitting right at the top of that food chain is Deng Zhuo, a tyrant who is now holding the emperor like a puppet. The Han Dynasty, for all practical purposes, is over.
He Jin's flawed plan to save the dynasty has instead kicked off an age of brutal tyranny. And that leaves us with the one critical question that's going to define this entire era. With the system completely broken and a monster in charge, who would possibly dare to challenge him?